Playoff hockey season is alive and well. We will recap the women's ice hockey team's trip to Princeton in the ECAC hockey quarterfinals and preview the men's team's first round series being played this coming weekend. Also, MAC postseason action is around the corner for the men's and women's basketball teams. Clearly, we've got a loaded plate, so let's eat. Bobcat Breakdown starts right now. Good evening and welcome to another slam-packed edition of Bobcat Breakdown. I'm Kirby Paulson. Tonight, I'm joined by two of my resident mentors, Gabby Riggi and Tyler Brocious. Guys, how are you?
Never better.
Really great, Kirby. Thanks.
We've got a lot to talk about, so let's get things going. The women's ice hockey team traveled down to Princeton for the ECAC quarterfinals over this past weekend. After beating the Tigers in triple overtime Friday, the team dropped two straight, ending its season and closing the door on the college hockey careers of 7 seniors. Gabby, we'll start with you. Are you surprised with the outcome of this weekend?
I'm going to go with no. It's a little bit mixed on that, but I think people underestimated how talented and deep Princeton was as a team. They really surprised a lot of people on a national scale last year. Kelsey Kozler and Carly Lundberg, two of the really strong players for that team, both won conference awards. Their coach won Coach of the Year last year. They made it as an at-large bid in the NCAA tournament, and that's a team that really came out of nowhere, I think, because Clarkson was so good going into the Frozen Four. That's why a lot of people shifted that focus, but no, it doesn't really surprise me because Princeton is a really talented team.
Tyler?
I couldn't agree more with her. Now, one thing is, you feel at a moment when you beat a team in triple overtime on the first game, you come back from down 2 goals, you expect them to ride a little bit momentum. I'm surprised to say they didn't, and at least, snake out a victory somewhere. But if you look, in that first game, they battle hard, they get 2 late goals, they tie things up, and then they just outwork them. That's Coach Brajesh Patel right there to a T. The conditioning, they outconditioned them. You could see on that break there, Samo just outskates everyone, and they kind of, they're going to go end game 1, and they go, okay, let's breathe here. But the thing is, you miss a star player in TTC and Ferrano, and that's going to hurt. Those goals have to get picked up somewhere, and if they can't, that's 13 goals, 13 assists. It's almost 30 points you take away from this team in a pivotal series against a team they could not beat in the regular season. So am I surprised? Yes, after the first game, but coming into the series, I'm not that surprised.
Well, Tyler, you make a great point there in that, you do need to pick those goals up. So give me one player that you thought needed to step up but didn't this weekend.
I would say as a whole, it's the defense. If you look at it, you expected maybe even the team defense. I'm talking the wingers, maybe getting shot in front of shots of Kelsey Kozler. As Gabby mentioned, she's an outstanding player. And it's very frustrating when you're not getting bodies in front and you're not blocking shots. It disrupts everything. And also then you put Sid Rossman back on the heel. She's in her net. She possibly makes a few mistakes. And I think it goes to team defense, because if you got to bail out your goalie, Sid Rossman said on last week when she won the program record in shutouts, it was a team victory and it was a team record. Well, when the team, stops blocking shots and different things like that defensively, that's what happens in a team game. And I think, they're going to look back at it and say, we got to regroup as a group team.
Gabby?
I don't know, Tyler. I think there's not too much more the defense could have done. Those were really close games, including that triple overtime, as we've continued to mention. I think, to me, the biggest thing that factored in those wins was lack of goal scoring. As we said, Sam Ferrano was injured, of course, but to me, it was the power play going 0 for 10. I'm not going to put it on any one player. It's the fact that their power play was not able to convert. Special teams, especially in the playoffs, is a huge factor. So to me, not being able to have any of those opportunities, including 6 in one game, absolutely killed them. I think that's what did it more than anything else for this team. I don't think there's any one person to blame. They're a very different team than they were that was very successful last year. So to me, it just was special teams. They dropped the ball.
So, guys, we talked a little bit, you guys talked about how they were unable to score any goals, but we're looking at a senior class that has been so successful, both between the pipes, whether it be off the ice, or even on the ice as well, with their performances. Gabby, we'll start with you. Who do you think will be missed the most out of this senior class?
I think it might be a little bit different than what a lot of other people may say. I'm picking Megan Turner. She was great on faceoffs consistently for the team, was a great two-way player. She would chip in a lot on those assists or set up those plays and breakouts that would get the goals and get the points going for the team. So I think she's one of those quiet players that you actually build your team around, but she's not going to be the person who you're going to sit there and notice. She had the A's. She was great leadership in that locker room. She had a lot of heart, and she was one of those people that players really love to rally around. She was never afraid to play in the gritty areas of the ice. A lot of her goals are dirty, garbage goals right in front. So I think Turner for her leadership and for what she was able to do in and out of the locker room.
For me, it's cliche, but you got to pick the captain, Emma Woods. If you first take it by points, you're taking away 12 goals and 23 points total. That's tough. And then you add in the fact that you basically, any team, it's going to be hard when you take away their captain. It's their mom. She's helping freshmen drive different places, whether it's the doctors or just simply to Chipotle. When you have that camaraderie, it's tough to fill. Will they fill it? I think they will next year with juniors and sophomores stepping up. Even the freshmen we saw can step up in the leadership roles. But it's always tough when you lose that motherly instinct on the team, and more importantly, 23 points.
Well, let's leave talking about the future for just a little bit later. Gabby, we'll start with you on this one. What is going to be this senior class's legacy that they leave here?
It's hard. I have a little bit of a bias and just a little different understanding because I have, as also a senior, been with this team for 4 years. But for me, I think it's the way that they set up the new transition of the Bobcats. I think they were a team that jumped up from being a middle of the pack and being a leader in the ECAC to being at that next level that they want to be at, consistently making NCAA tournaments, fighting with teams like Clarkson for conference titles. I think they and the class before them in 2016 were the ones that showed what kind of recruit this team can get. And in addition to being a winning team and team that had a high volume of point scorers, like I said, I think they set the caliber for the upper echelon recruit this team will get in the future.
Tyler?
89 goals, 144 assists, totaling for almost 230 points. It's crazy. I mean, offensively, they came from different ways. You want to talk about a sniper, you want to talk about the gritty goals, and Megan Turner. They had that idea of the buy-in. Cass Turner got them. They got through so much controversy in their early years to really put together 2 amazing seasons back to back. And now then you forget about it for a little bit. You think about the offense and you get so overwhelmed with that. You forget Sid Rossman, a program record in shutouts, especially emerging in the past 2 years to lead them into the NCAA tournament last year. And then this year, even just the little things. I mean, she stumbled a little bit out of the gates this year, I think surprising a few people, but she found a way to really regain focus and dominate throughout.
So after that quick exit in the Princeton series, maybe some thought they were going to go a little further. We'll go really quick through this one, Tyler. What do you think the future holds for a team like this?
It's only getting higher. As Gabby said, they brought another echelon to them. They allowed new recruits to come in. You think about it, who doesn't want to work with Mazzato, and you have, a coach like her with goalies. You have Eddie Ardito. They have a whole camaraderie about them right now that is the upper echelon in Division I women's ice hockey.
Gabby?
I think for me, I'm a little hesitant to go too far into the future. Again, women's hockey, you get a lot later recruits, and what you get is a lot more different than on the men's side. There's a lot less early recruiting. But for me, I think the biggest thing is going to be what Abby Ives is going to do in net. I want to see getting the consistent minutes for her. With any goaltender, the more reps you get, the better. So more than anything else, I'm interested to see how she's going to handle getting the bulk of those games next season for the Bobcats.
Thanks, guys. When we come back, men's ice hockey is facing off with Brown this weekend in the opening weekend of the ECAC tournament. Will this team win out all the way through to Lake Placid? Our analysts will let you know what they think. Don't go anywhere.
Coming up on Bobcat Breakdown.
Coming up on Bobcat Breakdown.
And welcome into Studio 125.
So what?
40
So what?
points. If you score 40 points in a basketball game, we all know you play Quinnipiac Intramurals. We all know you love to shoot the rock.
Well, if you think that's the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, what I'm about to say, I guess, is going to be pretty ridiculous in your book. But I'm going to say, yes, there is a controversy.
Line, getting ready to punch the ball as it lands right in front of another Monmouth player.
Coming up, coming up, coming up.
Coming up on hashtag that.
We are your source for Quinnipiac's entertainment news.
Hello, Quinnipiac hockey fans, and welcome to the Neutral Zone.
Definitely St. Lawrence, and I think you're going to see the test coming up real soon.
They might be having a bit of an adjustment issue without that CBS line, but don't count them out.
At High Point Solutions Arena in Game 2 of Quinnipiac vs. Northeastern Series.
All this and more.
Coming up on the Q30 Newscast.
Thanks for sticking with us. It's been a while. Anyways, the Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team finished 5th in the ECAC standings, just one spot under the threshold needed for a first-round bye. Therefore, they will now play Brown, whom they just beat 4-1 at home, to close out the season to move on to the quarterfinals. Q30 men's ice hockey beat reporter MJ Baird has the story.
The Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team celebrated senior night in its game against Brown on Saturday. The seniors and their families were honored for their contributions prior to the game.
It's a nice win to get for our seniors on senior night. And 6 kids that have done a lot for our program, great character, great students, great players.
Quinnipiac sent out its seniors in winning fashion, downing the Bears by a final score of 4-1. Freshman Nick Germain scored this score in the first period, and Quinnipiac excelled from there.
I think I've tried that move like 15 times this year. It's the first time it actually worked.
Quinnipiac finishes the ECAC regular season in the number 5 spot, and we'll see more of the Brown Bears come next weekend when they come to town for the first round of the ECAC tournament.
Being that we played them twice this year, we know what their systems are. We know how they're going to work the power play and how they play and how their goalies are and stuff like that.
The Bobcats and the Bears have only 5 days apart until they meet again. On Saturday, they set the tone, but next weekend is what really matters the most. For Quinnipiac, 3 wins in a row heading into the postseason is exactly the momentum it needed.
The past 3 games, I think we've realized what it's going to take to get the job done come playoff time.
Although freshman goaltender Andrew Shortridge has started the past 3 games and won them all, Pecknold is giving no indication who his playoff starter is.
You know, you'll find out next Friday when they announce the starting lineup.
From the High Point Solutions Arena, I'm MJ Baird, Q30 Sports.
Thank you, MJ. Should be a great weekend of hockey. Tyler, we'll start with you. Do you think this team has enough momentum to make a deep run in the playoffs?
Simply get hot and stay hot has been the motto, and I think it took a little bit of adjustment period for this team. They needed, they lose so much last year. They needed to kind of get hot, and now 3 in a row, 5 out of the last 7. And right now, they're riding the momentum. They kind of got the scoring from who they need it to be. And if they can keep that going and bring in new scoring, they need Timmy Clifton to keep produce more. They need his brother Connor to produce more in the offensive zone. And if they get the brothers going, they get the Clifton brothers moving, along with the presence of Chase Prisky, Craig Martin. They're coming together, and if the injury bug doesn't bite them like it has been this year, they should be able to maintain some pressure moving forward in the ECAC.
Gabby, what do you think?
I'm going to work to define playoffs more than I am momentum. I think they've been pretty consistent in the last few, as Tyler pointed out, with the winning streak. But to me, they're not making. If they make the NCAA tournament, they're getting bounced out in the first round. You're not going to see what you got last year. That's not to say they're not going to be successful going forward, but even if their power play is continuing to be successful, even if Shortridge continues to stand on his head when his defense can't bail him out, I don't see that it's going to be something. They could very well get to Lake Placid. I think if there are a couple upsets, the way that I had predicted, if Colgate and Dartmouth both take over, then they get St. Lawrence. That's an easy way for them to get to Lake Placid, I think. But I'm not 100% sure. I don't see a deep NCAA tournament run in their future at all. And even right now, the ECAC is in question.
Brosh, what do you think about that?
For me, it's a lot of ifs, and for me, I agree. If the defense can get together, I think they made some big blunders, and they've had Shortridge to bail them out, and I think he's turning into a really hot goalie right now. And what do you find a big problem in when you reach the playoffs? Hot goaltending. And so they can continue riding Shortridge, who's ECAC Rookie of the Week right now, along with making sure the defensemen don't turn the puck over as much. Now you're creating a nice little momentum switch. They keep getting goals, and the power play, it's funny, everyone brings up the power play to Rand in press conferences, and before you know it, he turns around and goes, well, you know what? Power play's not been that bad, and he's right.
Okay, so Gabby, moving into the playoffs, we were talking a little bit about their consistency, 5 of the last 7. But what do you think the team's biggest question mark is heading into this series?
I kind of led into it a little bit, but going through with the idea that they would defeat Brown in the first round to go into the quarterfinals, to me the biggest question mark is now that they're the 5 seed, how are they going to handle being on the road? I think, especially in a building like St. Lawrence, they've had a lot of problems with them. They've been a thorn in their side going in the 2013 year, 2014. They've been consistently an issue for them. I think having the opportunity to say they're going to be the road team going forward. If they make the NCAA tournament, if they go to Lake Placid, they're not going to get last change. They're going to have those longer changes and turnovers, and I think that's going to be more difficult for them. That's not something that they've been used to. They've had the luxury of having the highest seeds or higher seeds home ice. So to me, the biggest question is how will they handle being on the road team and the things that come along with that in hockey?
Tyler, what's the asterisk for this team in your opinion?
It's a double-headed sword. I mentioned both in my opening there. Power play, there's been some games where it rolls, and it's great. They've done different lines this year, and it seems to be really clicking right now. But we've also seen games like BU where it just completely shuts down. They're not even getting into the zone. The breakouts aren't strong. It's simply put, this team lives and dies by the power play. It always has. It did last year with the likes of Annis and Taze and Reed Cashman leading it. And what will happen now is also the problem is with this team is that it seems like when they get healthy, another player goes down. And when another player gets finally healthy, another player goes down. So this team really needs to worry about the injuries right now, getting healthy, which I think they really want it in the bye, but they can't do it. So they really need to worry about making opportunities count on the power play.
And finally, with this discussion, we'll end with some of the players you want to watch out for in this series. Tyler, we'll start with you. Do you have a couple for us?
I got two for you. One starts in the freshmen, and I've mentioned the freshmen. It seems like last year and this year, freshmen played a big role. Alex Whalen. He is just a bowling ball. And me and my one-color commentator, Justin Cloutier, we discuss it all the time. He's a bowling ball with a scoring touch. He can roll right in there, teamed up right now with Scott Davidson and Tim Clifton, and they can crash the boards. The great thing is, though, when he finds the puck on his stick, he's making the most of it right now. I like to see him contribute a little bit more offensively. And then next to it, Tommy Shutt. He kind of plays off my idea of the injury bug. I mean, he played defense this weekend. He's winning faceoffs. He's really the reason why their penalty kill is so good right now. And, it seems like him, when it's a big situation, a big-time play they need it, it's not the prettiest, it's not going to be the the crazy play on top 10, but he's making everything that Rand wants him to do, and that's really a big thing.
Gabby, who are your start two for this one?
I think it's kind of played back into those same things we've been harping on, power play, goaltending. So to me, it's going to be Chase Prisky. He quarterbacks that power play. He's absolutely fundamental, but I think to go off of that, Brogan Rafferty's had some excellent breakouts this past weekend, so looking at him as well, but I think Prisky's going to be the leader. He's the one that really anchors them down, and I think on the other end, Shortridge has bailed his team out more often than not. I think his defense has to play much stronger in front of him, but he has been absolutely outstanding. ECAC Rookie of the Week this week. He's been phenomenal. I've been super impressed with the way that he's been. He's now found his niche. Shortridge is my other player to watch out for this weekend.
Thanks, guys. We'll see how those players do in that series. Coming up, the men's and women's basketball teams are heading up to Albany for some postseason action. And we'll close out the show with our famed Game of the Week segment. You won't want to miss this. We'll be right back.
It's 9:30 Eastern, and you know what that means. Sports Pause is on the air.
Ball played up the middle. Iman Whalen with a little cheat off the puck. Preseason just boils down to going after another national championship and not necessarily focusing on the one before.
MJ, it is time for our favorite part of the show. It's the top 5 plays of the week, brought to you by B&D Deli, home of the Q-Dog.
Let's talk about the first play you want to break down.
Yeah, let's break it down right away.
But the one name I'm going to throw out there is a freshman, Mika Maples.
Hello, Quinnipiac hockey fans, and welcome to the Neutral Zone.
Definitely St. Lawrence, and I think you're going to see the test coming up real soon.
They might be having a bit of an adjustment issue without that CBS line, but don't count them out.
At High Point Solutions Arena in Game 2 of Quinnipiac vs. Northeastern Series.
All this and more.
Coming up on the Q30 Newscast.
Coming up on Bobcat Breakdown.
Coming up on Bobcat Breakdown.
And welcome into Studio 125.
So what? If you score 40 points in a basketball game, we all know you play Quinnipiac Intramurals. We all know you love to shoot the rock.
Well, if you think that's the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, what I'm about to say, I guess, is going to be pretty ridiculous in your book. But I'm going to say yes, there is a controversy.
Line, getting ready to punch the ball as it lands right in front of another Monmouth player.
Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown. On Saturday, the Quinnipiac women's basketball team defeated Canisius by a score of 62-49. In doing so, the team claims its third straight regular season MAC title and a #1 seed in the conference tournament, which will be played this coming weekend. Now it's time to break out the whiteboards. Let's have some fun. Guys, I'm going to ask you a question. You're going to write your answer down. You'll each have some time to explain your answer. First, who is this team's MVP?
All right, you ready?
Hold them up.
Get that ham ready.
Gabby, I'll let you explain your answer first.
I'm going to go with Erin McClure. She was tied for the team lead in averaging points per game, 24.7. Really strong defensively, 6.1 defensive rebounds. So I'm really impressed with the way that she was able to handle both sides of the ball. Her along with Jen Fay leading the team in scoring, but I like the way McClure plays both ends of the court.
Tyler?
I'm going to go with Strautmane. It seems like there was different times this year where she could just take over a game, and she does a really good job at it. I mean, same kind of thing with McClure. She can score points and rebound the ball, which are two giant assets to basketball. And so it's hard to pick. You know, I think she kind of got snubbed, which we'll get into in a little bit, I'm sure. But I think she's my MVP right now.
Okay, so why don't we jump right into that? I'll let you guys erase your answers. The second question is going to be, should Paula Strautmane have made the All-MAC team?
It's a little too emphatic there. I'm going to erase that underline ahead going.
Hold
Not
them
that
right
severe.
up, friends.
I hit you with a smiling face that time.
Tyler, go first. A very emphatic yes over here.
I mean, it's hard to pick her as the team MVP and then not say yes. So I think just kind of going off what I said, she took over so many games this year. And if you're standing there as someone who could vote on this, it's hard not to vote for her. And I think, 8.5 points, 5 rebounds, I think that only shows a little bit of what she could do on the floor. I think she had to find herself somewhere on there.
Gabby?
I disagree. I think there were other people on the team who are much more deserving. As I said, Jen Fay, Erin McClure were much bigger contributors to her team. I think she was key. I love the way she drives the lane. She's not afraid to really get in there, and that's always been the key part of her game. But to me, there were other players and her own teammates that were bigger contributors than she was, so I'm going to go with no.
So let's move to chat about these players' head coach, and that's Trisha Fabry. Do you guys think that Trisha Fabry should be Coach of the Year?
I'm less decisive on this one than in the past. I'm going to go with a maybe.
All right, Gab.
I think there's been other surprises from teams like Siena, from teams like Ryder. I think there have been other, more consistent. At this point, Trisha Fabry has won 2 MAC regular season titles. She's had fabulous teams. She's had a lot of big contributions from her players. Not to diminish what she does as a coach in any way, shape, or form. She's an absolutely outstanding at what she does. But to me, there are a lot of other factors and a lot of other coaches who had to deal with way more than she has this year.
Tyler?
I'm going to piggyback kind of right off Gabby there. I just think, if you want to give out Coach of the Year, to get, the coach, you got to do it every year. And I feel like Trisha Fabry, she does such a good job of getting these girls to play for her. And, someone like that who could have a possible controversy with a daughter on the team, it doesn't even affect the team. You kind of forget that they're even related, besides last names. And as you were saying, the coach of Siena, they dealt with so much more. It's kind of shocking to just say her just because it was the best record.
So where do you think that she ranks among coaches here?
Here at Quinnipiac, I would say she's got to be right at the top 3, top 4, just crucialness. Like the way her ability to recruit, and now that whole idea of, they go back and watch behind the Bobcats there at Quinnipiac, it's hard not to see why her players play for her. She's a great coach, one, and she's a second mother to these girls, which I think is a key asset when you tell them, hey, come move miles away and not know an area where you're at.
Yeah.
Well, to me, I think this was something we actually explored in the next edition of KPS on the magazine. We have a story about what is the level of success for a women's basketball team, and it's easy to say Rand Pecknell has had success because he's brought teams to national title games. But to me, the ceiling is very different for mid-major women's basketball because the pool of recruits is so much smaller. Top 10 always go to UConn. It's so much more condensed. So I think for me, Trish is probably of the 4 major winter sports coaches, #1 for me because she has so much more she has to deal with than the other 3.
Thanks, guys. We'll move across the parquet now. The men's basketball team, on the other hand, was defeated by Ryder by a score of 99-82 on Senior Day, capping a conference regular season record of 7-13. The team will now play Niagara Friday in the opening round of the MAC tournament. Same idea. We're going to keep the whiteboards out here. We'll start with Tyler. When he brings up his whiteboard, he'll explain first. But can they win a game in Albany?
I'm just going to go with no for this one just because it's too, you're relying now on your freshman phenoms.
Even with their record this season against Niagara.
It's still tough for me. I think, your ability to have, you got to rely now on these freshmen who've been great all year, but it's brighter lights, it's a bigger stage, there's 2 TV sets there. It's a lot more that goes into it than just the game, and I just don't see them coming out with a victory.
Yeah, I'm going to pretty much agree with Tyler. I think the best thing that's going to come out of Albany is a trip to Cider Belly Donuts for them.
Ooh, delicious.
Absolute great place to go. Tyler and I both recommend it. But for me, there's just a lot going on for them. I think if it's going to be, again, when push comes to shove, they have some really great talent. That doesn't mean they're not going to win the MAC a couple years down the road, but for me right now, they don't have enough pieces. They've had a lot of injuries to deal with. They're not hit their stride at the right time, so to me, I don't think they're going anywhere in Albany.
Tyler, you mentioned 2 of those freshman phenoms that Quinnipiac does have. Who should win the Rookie of the Year for the MAC? Peter Kiss or Mikey Dixon?
For me, it's Peter Kiss.
Mikey Dixon.
It's only 2 to pick from, but Peter Kiss, he was just his ability to take over games and his late game scoring was so crazy. It's just his ability to put the ball in his hand and say, what, you're a freshman, go make something happen. We're down 2, we're up 1, go get a big bucket. And he was able to do it time in and time out. And even the time when he was coming off the bench at the beginning of the year, he was still contributing at major points.
I like the way that Dixon was able to play both sides. I think being able to go out and try to hit those threes was a little bit better outside the arc and at the top of the key than as Kiss was very good in driving in the lanes. They're both outstanding players for the Bobcats, not to take away from one or the other, but to me, Dixon was able to play so much more of the ball and again, go on that defensive end. I think he's the guy that really stands out for me. But 2 outstanding players, really bright future for the men's basketball team.
So for our final question for this whiteboard segment, who is Monmouth's biggest threat in the MAC conference?
Ready?
Controversy.
Oh, goodness gracious. Goodness
That was
gracious.
unreal.
Gabby, go first. This one's interesting.
To me, they're going to run away with the MAC. I think they're going to make the NCAA tournament again. Outstanding this year. Very similar to the teams they had this year, but I think if they're going to buy into their own heads, they very much bought into who they were as a team last year. But I think if they're going to get too far ahead of themselves and say, we're going to walk away with this, then they can really get in their own way and potentially risk it going into in the MAC tournament.
Tyler, you said no on why is that?
You know what? I talked to the man, the myth, the legend, Dylan Fearon before this, and I said, hey, I don't know that much. Kind of run me through. I've only seen a couple games here. He goes, Justin Robinson, one of the best point guards around. And then you add to it, they're starting almost every senior. And you add that, and you go off my idea that freshmen can't lead a team in the MAC. You have that many seniors. They've been there. They know how it's done. They know how to get it done. And they'll do it this year again, I think.
So my question to you guys then is, will Quinnipiac win a MAC championship within the next 3 years? We don't have to talk about this on whiteboards.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I think in talking about Dixon and Kiss, I think they're really confident in what that whole freshman class has to offer, the way they pair down with the Robinson twins. As we've always said, Tom Moore is an excellent recruiter. I'm confident in the players he's able to bring in. It's the ability to keep them. So to me, yeah, absolutely they can win a MAC in the next 3 years.
Tyler?
I hate to agree with Gabby all the time, but she's usually right, and she's right here again. Peter Kiss, Mikey Dixon, you have those playmakers and you add in the Robinsons. It's all about putting the right potions together, and you can see it's getting there.
Finally, it's time for our executive producer, Josh Silverman's favorite segment of the night, the Game of the Week. As we chatted about before, the men's ice hockey team will open up postseason play against Brown this weekend at home. Guys, I hope you have your predictions ready. Tyler, we'll start with you.
Simply put, I think Quinnipiac wins this. I watched them play the game on the road. That time they didn't have that much scoring, and you add that into now a game we saw them finish out the year. They're finishing strong. They're riding the hot hand. I just don't see Brown touching them. I'm thinking in 3.
Gabby?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to just pick that the Bobcats win. Brown has only won 1 road game this entire season. It was an overtime win in January against Dartmouth. There's really not much else for Brown to do. Goaltending's not great.
So that'll just about do it for us here in Studio 125. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at QBSN and at Q30 Sports for your constant Quinnipiac sports update fix. For Tyler Brocious, Gabby Riggy, the producing staff, and everyone behind the scenes, we'd like to wish you a wonderful rest of your week. We'll catch you next Wednesday, same time, same place.